Okay, everyone, thank you for being so patient. So I'm Nicholas, and we are Prinsegate, family-run business. Been in property for quite some time, mostly in developing work as well as contracting. So we tend to have a bit more hands-on experience in that regard. For starters, I'd love to know a bit more about everyone, why they're here, what they're looking to get out of Kingston University, what job they're planning to have, sort of company they're looking to join. So if we can go around the room, please. Yeah.
I'm currently a building surveyor at the moment.
Yep.
I'm just want to finish the degree and then get on the road to chartership.
Yeah. Okay, great. And you, sir? Yeah. I think we met before, did we? Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm Joe Wilson. I have an undergraduate degree in civil engineering, and I'm looking to serve as a chartered building surveyor.
Yeah. Okay. And you, please?
I'm Rai, and I have completed my bachelor's this year itself, and now I've started master's in building surveying. And once it's done, I want to do the jobs as a chartered surveyor.
Okay. And you, please?
Yeah. Well, I've joined
Britton Hadley. Yeah.
And now, obviously, just need to get my master's conversion and then get on the road to chartership.
Yeah. Okay. Right. But what sort of work are you looking to do?
Well, I could prefer the building projects and the more contract admin stuff really than the surveys and the party walk.
Yeah. I know they do quite a bit of that.
Yeah.
We don't do anywhere near as much, but obviously here and there. So they're good for that. Obviously, I know the guys. I love them. They're good. So yeah, it's a good choice. And you, please?
Hello, I'm Crystal. I obviously studying masters.
Yeah.
I've been in estate agency for the last sort of 5 years, doing property management. I've been a sales negotiator, lettings negotiator. Now I'm doing property management. I work full time as well as doing this masters. For my future prospects, I'd like to become a building surveyor, complete my masters, complete ABC course, and then ideally I'd like to sort of go into more sort of commercial buildings and things like that.
Okay.
Just because I feel as though I've worked for quite a few years now in residential, but residential is kind of where I feel comfortable. But yeah, so we'll just kind of see where it goes.
Okay, understandable. And you, please?
So I'm Charles, currently doing his master's with the aim of again doing my ABC, getting chartership. Looking at maybe going into like dilapidations. End goal, hopefully project management. That's what I'm looking at right now.
And you, please?
My name is Kathleen. So I've decided for a career change after over 10 years working in hospitality.
Okay.
So I kind of wanted something probably like in construction or something like that. So I did a bit of research. Out of the old research I've done, I think what attracted me was building surveying. I liked what I read on the internet.
Okay.
That you go out and about and basically survey the buildings.
Yeah. Yeah, you definitely get out and about quite a bit. So,
that's all.
yeah.
That's what I want to do. And obviously, follow the course of accreditation and everything.
Yeah.
After the masters.
Yeah. Okay. And last one?
Sorry, excuse me.
That's right.
I'm Daniela. I'm here studying full time, and I think as many of the others have said, I'm here to become a chartered surveyor. That's the end goal after I complete my studies.
Is there a particular specialism you want to go into?
I haven't decided yet. I don't feel like I've learned enough about each of the areas to make that decision yet, but hopefully we'll see.
Yeah, that's understandable. So most do want to become chartered. Why is that? I'm curious to know. Everyone wants to become chartered, or at least most. What?
For me, I think maybe because it holds weight, you can go anywhere in the world and say I'm a chartered building surveyor or chartered surveyor.
Yeah.
I'm a member of the RICS and
Yeah.
the other associations, and I think that kind of holds. That's kind of the pinnacle, the top of where you want to be.
Yeah.
Specifically.
Yeah. No, you're quite right, because in property, the chartered surveyor is supposedly the expert. You know, if ever there's a dispute, you go to the chartered surveyor. They are an authority, and then RICS that, you know, governing body for those authoritative figureheads. So yeah, that makes sense totally. Anyone else got different reasons? You can be honest. Good pay. Yeah.
Do you get paid more if you're chartered?
You do. Yeah. Yeah. That's the elephant in the room, isn't it? Yeah. I figured. It's okay. You can talk about money. We can talk about that later. In fact, we will. So, any other reasons? So, authority, pay, and what else?
I guess it's the type of skills that you'll have as well. It's not just soft skills like management and things like that.
Yeah.
You know, some real good knowledge which is usable and which people will pay you for.
Exactly. Yeah. So that's a third reason as well. It's a very practical type of qualification accreditation to have. Of course, being in the industry, well, everyone lives in a property, so you're going to know one or two things about why this is defective and how to remedy it, etc. So it is very practical. You'll find a lot of your friends will start asking you questions. Oh, I have this problem with my tenant or my neighbour, whatever.
Doctor of housing.
Yeah, exactly. So you are effectively a GP, as a building surveyor, at least. A GP, someone who knows a bit about everything. And chartered surveyors should be like that, quite generalist, but they can also specialize in one particular area as well. So anyway, that's really interesting to hear. So let's move on with the show. So as I said, we're a family company, and we have that background in developing. So it made sense to be a surveyor, because you can, although contracting, it's interesting and you can earn quite a lot with that. It's a very stressful industry. As a contractor, having first-hand experience with that, you are, you feel like you're being attacked from all different fronts. You've got your client, the developer, who is looking to cut you down on price, left, right, and center. And then you've got your workmen who just don't turn up to site. So it's hard finding a good team of reliable contractors, as you probably know as well. It is a stressful job being a contractor, and also the admin as well, being able to track all of those costs, et cetera, et cetera. So surveying just made sense in terms of being that middleman between the contractor and the client. So some of you mentioned projects. In project management, you would be administrating the contract, acting as the liaison between the developer and the contractor, and making sure that the project runs smoothly and so forth. So, we obviously want to maintain professional standards. RICS have those guidelines for individual members and firms. So in this industry, you have to be abiding by that because you're going to be regulated. If you're chartered, you will have to fall in line with their standards. And everyone knows about remit as well, I take it. Remit? So remit is if you're appointed for something, then you can only do work within the realm of that appointment. So if you're, let's say, you're a building surveyor, and this is very easy to fall into in terms of traps. You do a building survey on a property, and the client may want to go into legal territory. You have to steer clear of those sorts of things. Or maybe he starts asking you about design work. You're not a designer, so under CDM and so forth. So you just have to be conscious of the terms of your appointment. So these are practicalities in the industry which you'll soon become quite well versed in. And the big thing that surveyors are very much afraid of is negligence, or just claims in general. So if you are straying beyond your remit, or you neglect to do something, then your client may file a claim against you, and then you have to prove how you actually did your job, and so yeah, it just gets a bit messy. So you've got to be quite strict with the terms of your appointment. Okay. Right. So we as a company, you'll find a lot of surveying practices in the industry, and generally they're all pretty decent. I would say, having worked for a variety of surveying practices, as I say, they're all good in their own way. But there's a common deficiency, as I found when I was attending some of the lectures at RICS. The lecturer put up a slide that was just a blank screen, and he said, "This is what you look like to your employer as an APC candidate." So don't be surprised if you go and work in any building, surveying company, and they just don't pay all that much attention to your APC. Often it's not their fault in the grand scheme of things. The employer and the team, they're all very busy with their work, and they haven't taken the time to develop certain training programs. So having gone into that industry, I wanted us to make sure that we have that available, so that as soon as somebody comes in, they're on track to be getting chartered, to be on that APC route. Best thing is, ideally, if you go for the ASOCRICS and then you go for MRICS, it means you get something under your belt sooner rather than later, because MRICS, as you probably know, how difficult is it to pass MRICS? Does anyone know?
60% fail first time or something?
Yeah, correct. Yeah, it's about, I hear it's about 33% pass.
Oh, right, okay.
Yeah, so basically that, yeah. So, yeah, we can talk about what that's like. There are training programs for that. Obviously, RICS, they provide programs for mock interviews. So for the APC, well, let's start off with the ASOCRICS. I'm just trying to think in practical terms. If I were in your shoes, I'm pretty much finishing my degree. I'm finishing my dissertation. Is everyone on their dissertation now? No? No one started early? No. She shakes her head in disappointment. Yeah, please don't suffer from student syndrome. That is a legitimate, syndrome, as it's called, from what I read, where you leave something all the way at the last minute. Better to just, get it out the way sooner rather than later, and then you come and just revise it later on with a fresh mind. So that's the best way to do things. Once you finish that, if you've got your degree in the bag, what do you do then? Anyone? Just start applying for jobs, right? Now, that was the situation I was in. I first went into renewable energy for about close to 3 years. Believe it or not, I never actually wanted to be a surveyor. I studied property planning and development because I wanted to be a developer. And I bet some of you have it in mind to do your own development work. Am I correct? Some of the people I've spoken to at Kingston Uni, they do have it in mind, and also some of the other universities, they talk about, I want to do my own project on the side. Now that's quite smart, because some of the people in our team, they take the income from their job and then they invest it into their own projects on the side. So going back to what you said, it's very practical because you can apply it to your own investments, right? So you're fresh out of uni, you start applying for jobs. As I said, I went into renewable energy, and I found myself doing a lot of surveying work, because you're obviously visiting houses. Okay, we can get solar PV here, biomass, etc., residential, commercial. Before you know it, I'm doing lots of planning work, project management, etc. I thought, well, I might as well use this towards my APC and become chartered accordingly. So when you apply for a job, try to make sure that the experience you're going to get is very much relevant to your APC, or at least your ASOCRICS. Okay. Does anyone know what ASOCRICS is? Associate, good. And then a step up is MRICS, which is member, full member of the RICS. What's above that? Very good. Yeah, fellow of the RSCS. Okay. So going back to what I was saying about how I didn't really want to become a surveyor because I didn't really know much about it. Even though I was studying property planning development, there wasn't much talk about what a surveyor actually is. And we'll get into that a little bit later. The difference between, let's say, a building surveyor or a QS, project manager, etc. So yes, once I got that MRICS, it then made sense to just work in a variety of other surveying practices, and then with the family business that was doing mostly contracting work and so forth, we then switched it up to focus more on the surveying work. So that's a little bit about us. And if you do join us, I think you probably have read this part here. So another problem with working for certain surveying practices is that you go out on the job and you do a whole bunch of surveying work. It gets, well, like all work, it gets a bit knackering from time to time. You know, there's a lot of properties you've got to visit and a lot of report writing. And then you just think, am I getting much from this? So we want to operate a reward system. People get bonuses, annual profit share and all that kind of thing. And yeah, we found that it does keep everyone quite motivated to just carry on with the work, you know. But generally it is a fun job. As a building surveyor or even a project manager, you're out on site quite a bit. I think out of all of them, the building surveyor gets out on site a lot. So the question is, do you want more of an office job or do you want more of a site job? Around the room, if you can put up your hands for office job. And now site job. Okay, right. So it's quite unique. I mean, think about it. I don't know what the numbers are, but I would imagine most jobs out there, you're just in an office, and that's it. So yeah, it is a nice profession to get into. But as a building surveyor, you have to know your stuff. So well, that goes without saying. But what I mean by that is whatever you're learning on this course, and I've already seen some of the sample work, it looks really good. I thought to myself, well, there's not much point us going into certain case studies because you're already looking at some important work. You're understanding the mechanics of construction and the building pathology behind it. So I think in terms of that practical experience, you're going to be covering that off quite well, or at least the theoretical knowledge which you can easily apply. So, okay, that's just a brief overview of us. It's not working. Okay. Okay. So, in this industry, focusing a bit more on the building surveying, which is, what is a building surveyor? Does anyone actually know what a building surveyor typically is?
The one who helps to renovate the old buildings or like provides the easy solutions.
He can have a role in that, yeah. But typically, when you hire a building surveyor, what is that normally for? Yeah, but why? What building, typically? What's the typical client for a building surveyor?
Building owner?
Or someone looking to buy a house?
Home buyers report.
Exactly, home buyers report. We'll go into the different types of report you can get, but a building surveyor is typically used by a client who is looking to buy a house. You're all eventually going to, well, I think, yeah, even if you rent, it might be a good idea to send someone in to just check it out. But buying a house, if you decide to buy a house, you're going to want a building surveyor to go in, make sure the house you're buying is not a nightmare property. Because if you don't do that and you move in, what's going to happen? Well, yeah, you find all these problems, Yeah? And who's going to pay for that? You are, exactly. Because you might call it being missold, but ultimately, buyer beware. It's your job to make sure that what you're buying is right. Sure, you'll have a...
If you say thousands, that's
Exactly,
it.
yeah. So even with a solicitor, the solicitor will still rely on the building surveyor. So you buy a house, and let's say you haven't got the building survey done, you find all of these defects, you've got to pay for them, and property, as we know, can be really expensive, okay? You may have seen schedules of costs, so we do that as well, defect cost analysis. When we do the building survey report and we find all of these problems, the client then says, okay, so how much is that going to cost me? Then we do defect cost analysis and we work out with pricing books, BCIS and so forth, how much that's going to come to. And the figure is usually quite high. So if you want to do a little bit of work on the roof, well, you have to erect scaffolding for that often, you know, unless you find a roofer that's willing to risk it with a really long ladder, you know, depends. So that's why building surveyors are needed in the industry. And there are a lot of, call them lay people, who buy houses and they're none the wiser. They're not educated on the whole process. A lot of people do know, yeah, you get a building survey done. But a lot of people do not, and they end up with a nightmare property. And what's worse, they can't sell it. Because if the property is subsiding, are you going to get insurance for that? You're going to be able to sell it, you know? So, yeah, always get the building survey. And that's why it's a very important, going back to the point you made about being an authoritative figure in the industry, it is a very important position, a very important role. As a chartered surveyor, you are the expert that people go to. Okay. Now, we have a lot of senior surveyors, and they really enjoy passing the torch to the junior surveyors. And they do that by downloading all of their information to you. People, Zoe, I'm sure you enjoy teaching, right? As long as everyone's well behaved, right? Yeah. Exactly. Okay. So people like teaching. So once you gain all of that experience, let's say you become newly chartered, you gain more and more experience. Before you know it, you're a senior surveyor. And you know a lot. You'd be surprised how much you know when you speak to a student or a graduate. So when we conducted interviews, it was surprising how much they didn't know, but that also made us realize actually we know quite a lot about this and that, right? So, and you'll find the same thing. In this industry, you're going to learn a lot. And before you know it, you're managing your own team, yeah, depending on how well-read you are, how experienced you are. So it's not enough, going back to your course, it's not enough to just study what you're given and do the dissertation. If you want to get a really good edge over yourself, as well as other people who may be fighting for that job, do some other reading as well. So we have our reading list. And there are some really handy books that will teach you a bunch that you may not have had from your course, even though I'm sure the course is very comprehensive. For instance, structural movement. I think you're reading quite a bit into that. How to diagnose structural movement, yeah? Okay, so things like that, different causes of damp, etc. So as a senior surveyor, we want the new generation of surveyors to be very educated such that we can take care of people who are looking to purchase homes. We've spoken about what a building survey is. Now, party wall. I'm guessing you don't have all that much experience in this, or knowledge at least. What's party wall? Anyone?
The common wall between
Yeah,
houses.
correct. It's a shared wall. What types of properties have a party wall? Terraced? Semi-detached? Yes, okay. So what do surveyors do in party wall? Well, as my grandfather said, well, he comes over and he signs a bit of paper and that's it. But it's not quite that. I think maybe it's changed a lot since his time. But anyone? No one knows how party wall matters come about?
Well, the building owner needs to give
You already used the key phrase. Yeah, he knows. So the building owner is?
the person doing the work.
Exactly. And the adjoining owner is the neighbor. Yeah, okay. So the building owner, let's say you want to do an extension. Okay. It might actually be best if we played the video from the website so you can see in animation what that looks like, rather than me just nattering on. The animation will help you understand this a bit better.
Is that the video that I like?
Yeah, I'm just wondering if there is sound. Do we have sound?
Yes, it should be.
Okay. Yeah.
A party wall is a wall that divides the properties of neighbours. The ownership of that wall is shared between them. The Party Wall Act covers any building work that may affect someone else's property, even if it doesn't involve a party wall. This includes cutting out pockets to insert beams, cutting away chimney breasts, underpinning, raising walls close to the property boundary, or even just excavating within 6 meters of a neighbouring structure. These works are often carried out in renovations, loft conversions, basement conversions, and extensions. A neighbour undertaking the works covered by the Act has a legal duty to serve proper notice to all affected neighbours. Failing to do so can result in a complicated claim for damages or a court injunction, which can be very expensive. Upon receipt of a notice, an affected neighbour has 2 options: consent to the works, meaning that they simply progress, or dissent, meaning that an independent surveyor must be appointed to resolve any dispute. Neighbours can each appoint their own surveyor or agree to one. A surveyor will check all the information relating to the building work to minimise risk for all neighbours. Then, an award is drafted. This is a legally binding agreement, and it will usually include a record of the affected neighbour's property. Prinsegate are regulated by the RICS and will take care of all the procedural work for you with their chartered surveyors. Call us now.
Yeah, call us now. So, right, did everyone catch that? It's a lot of information to take in one hit. So how does the party wall matter arise? What happens first? Someone wants to do works, the building owner, yeah. He wants to, now, the Party Wall Act is actually the Party Wall Etc. Act. The reason why they say etc. is because it's not just about that party wall. Even if you excavate within 3 meters, you still have to serve notice on your neighbor. That's if your foundations are lower than theirs. Okay? The reason being is that even though you're some distance from them, you start excavating, there's going to be maybe ground movement, yeah? So the next door neighbor could be affected by that. So basements are a big problem. That's why in Chelsea, you know, people get worried when they do these massive basements because, you know, it's a big job, vibration, the soil conditions change, and then before you know it, the neighbors have subsidence problems. So that's why you must appoint a surveyor if you are carrying out works and there is a dispute. The parties must appoint a surveyor. A party wall surveyor, can actually be anyone, but preferably, obviously, chartered, they have experience, they know what they're doing. So I'm a building owner, okay, and I'm about to build an extension, okay. I now have to serve notice on you, my neighbor, okay. So you receive that notice, and then what? You can consent or dissent to the works. Virtually all people dissent. Nearly all people dissent, and that's a good choice to make, because what that does, the act is now invoked, because a dispute is deemed to have arisen, or an actual dispute has arisen, okay? Now we have to appoint surveyors. So you appoint your surveyor, I appoint mine, or we can have one. So let's say that we have that agreed surveyor. What that agreed surveyor is going to say is, okay, let me see the notice. You have different notices for different works. Section 1 is for building a wall. Section 3 is for cutting into a party wall. Section 6 is for excavating. It's only really 3 notices, generally, for works. Okay. So the agreed surveyor checks these notices out and says, okay, yeah, they're legally binding. I can see they've been dated. You've got the address correct, the names of the parties, etc. You've described the works. You've told them when roughly they're going to start. You don't have to give a date, you know, let's say a month or 2 months, whichever. And you've got drawings as well. Okay, these are valid notices. You have served notices correctly. Great. If you don't do that, what happens? If they're incorrect, even the slightest problem, what happens? Correct. The process starts de novo. Now, that can be really embarrassing, so you've got to get it right. If you're the surveyor and you're the one who's served notices on behalf of your appointing owner, we use the term appointing owner. There are no clients in party wall. You'll get people who have appointed you saying, well, I'm your client, you're supposed to do this and that. No, no, no. The Party Wall, etc. Act, you're appointed by statute. So there are no clients. It's one of the reasons why you can recover the debt. If that appointing owner owes you money, you can recover it as a civil debt through the magistrate's court. Okay? So the notices have to be right. Imagine you serve notices and all this work happens, and then you find out later actually the notices are invalid. You've got to start all over again. That's going to be embarrassing, so get them right first time. Okay? So the surveyor says, right, these notices are good. What happens next? What happens? The surveyor immediately wants to go to the adjoining owner's property, the neighbor, and carry out you probably know this, schedule of condition. Yeah. So what's a schedule of condition?
Well, depends on the work that they're doing, right?
Yeah.
And then you go to the place where it could be affected. So if they're cutting into the party wall in this area, then I'm going to go to that room and I'm going to record the condition of the ceilings, the walls, the floors, the windows.
Exactly.
Take lots of photographic evidence, put together a report.
So if I'm cutting, let's say this is the party wall, and I'm cutting into this, the neighbor, let's say it's semi-detached or whatever, the neighbor could be affected by that. So before I do works, the surveyor will go there and record the condition, photographs, and make notes. That way, when the works start and finish, they go back and they say, yep, there's no damage, and we can prove that. If there is damage, they can prove that as well. It's a before and after.
If you consent to the works, can you still have that done?
Yes. The appointing, the neighbor, let's say the adjoining owner, can just make that a condition.
Right.
So when you consent to the works, if you decided to consent to the works that I want to do, right, then there's no act. The act doesn't get invoked. Okay? But you can ask for a schedule of condition. That's good for both parties, the adjoining owner and the building owner. Why? Because every time there's a party wall job, the adjoining owner suddenly notices all of these defects in their property. the cracks that were there for decades, now, oh, well, I can see cracking damage, you know, and they think that it's attributed to the works. It's not, usually, right? So yeah, the schedule of condition, you at least want to get that in the bag. Yeah? Go on. No, ask.
So like, if you consent to the work,
Yeah.
and then something goes wrong, then you're not covered. So the act, you haven't invoked the act.
Yeah.
So what happens ultimately? Then it's just an agreement between neighbours, and you have to settle it between yourselves.
I have to check on this, but there is a possibility of a dispute then arising.
Okay.
And you can later then invoke the act.
Right.
I think that is how it can happen. We haven't been up against that, but yeah, I'll double check that. I think that is what can happen. Yeah.
Sorry, I have a question. So who bears the cost? Is it always the building owner, or if each building owner and the adjoining property owner, if they appoint their own surveyors, do they jointly bear the cost? Or
Building owner pays for everything.
really?
The only exception, a couple of exceptions. Let's say my neighbor here wants to do, oh, can you go up to the chimney, like my side of the chimney, and just repair that for me as well, since your builder is going up there? Okay, you have to pay for that, yeah? So that's if you're asking for works that I don't need to do, if I'm the building owner, yeah? Another exception is, let's say you're causing me a lot of trouble, and now the act is facilitative. There are some neighbors who think, I'm going to hit you with the act now, and you're never going to do your work, okay? That's not what it's designed to do. It can go horribly wrong if you have bad surveyors. We'll get onto that, okay? We've been in court and we've had to resolve that. Everything went wrong from the other side, but we'll get into that. If you cause issues, or your surveyor causes issues unreasonably, then what happens if there are two surveyors, if I have my surveyor and you have your surveyor, and they don't get along, and you've been causing issues, it goes to the third surveyor. Yeah, third surveyor. The third surveyor is, it's like an adjudicator amongst surveyors. So my surveyor and your surveyor will agree at the very beginning, right, we're going to use Alex Frame, who is like the rock star of Party Wall. Yeah, there was one other, what was his name? The guy with the long hair, I forgot his name. But
I love that there's a rock star.
yeah, there are, yeah. They have their own club and everything. And their newsletter, they always like to use the word party to make puns out of everything. No party with this and that. It's like, yeah, okay. So anyway, my surveyor and your surveyor will agree on a third surveyor, okay? And he will act as an adjudicator if the surveyors disagree. But what happens if there's only one agreed surveyor? He's not going to disagree with himself. And then, yeah, you're kind of stuck there. So the agreed surveyor just has to do the job. But if the surveyor, whether it's agreed or two surveyors, if any surveyor neglects to act or refuses to act, then you can start the process all over again. Or if you have a third surveyor, you can refer the matter still. Okay. So that it's actually quite a smart mechanism, the Act. They have really thought it through quite well. And if you follow the terms of the Act, if you apply them strictly, you're not really going to encounter too many problems, generally speaking. But what happens when you have someone who really doesn't play ball? Now, we were in that situation. I won't name the name of the person, but it went to court. And before you knew it, we were becoming a sort of semi-celebrity because the community knew this court case was arising. Now, what happened? This poor family called us up and said, our neighbor is hacking into our loft space, tearing down the chimney stack, flooding the place with dust. Just a nightmare neighbour.
Oh God,
Yeah, don't
the
say
estate agent.
he was, yeah.
Not such a nice guy.
No, and this family said, please help us. This goes back to what you were saying about being an authoritative figure.
They were South African as well, so they weren't used to the UK laws and stuff.
Yeah, they didn't understand it so well. They said, our lawyer won't help us, the council won't help us, the police won't even help us. They said, I'll talk to a surveyor. Okay, so now we're above police even, right? So we came along, and I just thought, this is going to be an absolute nightmare. But you know what? This is part of why we exist, to help people out, okay? Without trying to be all Gandhi about things. You know, you want to give back to the community as well. It's nice to get that feeling like you really helped somebody out, okay? So we wrote to him and we said, you have to serve notice, otherwise we could file an injunction against you, yeah? Because if they don't want to abide by the terms of the Act, your appointing owner can file an injunction, and that can be, yeah, quite problematic for them. They have to pay you costs and all sorts of things. He eventually served notice, but oh my God, it was just getting quite messy. And yeah, he didn't like that we awarded against him. It went to court. We went to magistrate's court and then county court. And the judges, now here's going back to your point of authority. No judge can refute the award that I've made. As long as it's valid, it is not to be questioned in any court. Now that's authority. The judges literally, each one of them said, there's nothing I can do, I have no jurisdiction. Yeah. And that was it. So, yeah, the building owner had to pay a lot of our fees, and I don't think he ever apologized to our appointing owners, but he eventually moved out. But they were very grateful. So these are the things that you can do to help people as a surveyor. Like I said, your friends, they're going to approach you with all sorts of problems they're up against. We've had so many contacting us. Oh, my neighbor is doing this, and oh, I'm looking to build that. You know, you're going to be quite important in your social circle if you know your stuff and you're willing to help them. Okay, so that's quite a bit about Party Wall. We also do valuations. Does anyone know how to do a valuation? How would you? Sorry.
To find the value of that property.
Yeah. How would you value a property? Let's say I want to value, I don't know, some house in the distance there. How would I value it?
Surrounding and the
Yeah.
facilities available nearby.
Yeah. You definitely want to look at something called comparables. So that's why valuers often call up estate agents. They say, hey, you know, I'm doing this valuation, you know, what do you think? The estate agents usually want to play ball, because if they annoy the valuer, then one day the valuer may value a property that the estate agent is selling, you know. So they have to, surveyors and estate agents, they butt heads a lot, okay? Why is that? Forget valuation, let's go back to building surveying. Why would building surveyors and estate agents not like each other? Or at least the estate agent hates the building surveyor often. Why?
Because if the building was crappy, the building surveyor is going to say, and
Yeah.
the estate agent wants to sell that home.
Exactly, yeah. So this agent has worked so hard, he's worked so hard to make this deal, right? And he's ready for everyone to sign the dotted line. Yeah, let's close this deal, because all the agent really cares about is
selling the property.
The
And
com-
you've got
yeah.
10k off for me on a property that I bought. because
Yes.
I've done.
yeah. So yeah, we
You
can.
negotiated the price, and that's why
Yeah.
I say to everyone, and that's the thing I want to do. So I'm head of recruitment, and I say to everybody when I'm recruiting you is saying, we're not just giving you a job, we're giving you a career, and in that career I want to help you get onto the property ladder. And then we help you within the company to do the survey on your property. And because I've been in property my whole adult life, I will help you to choose the right property and advise you on the refurb and give you my opinion for free, and put you in contact with good builders, suppliers, the whole lot.
Yeah.
So these
So-
are essential.
Yeah, so yeah, again, in practical terms, you're able to have that understanding of how much things are going to cost and renegotiate the price for your client or maybe even for yourself. So the building surveyor butts heads with the estate agent because the agent, all of a sudden, building surveys come back and yeah, there's suspected damp everywhere, subsidence, whatever. Now their client wants to renegotiate on the price or they walk away entirely. Now we want to be quite positive about things, quite constructive about things. So it is common in the industry for surveyors to be very critical, especially of other surveyors, because this is the other thing you have to watch out for. Surveyors will go after other surveyors. And because sometimes a client comes to us and says, hey, we instructed this surveyor to do all this work for us. They've cocked everything up. Now we have to act as expert witness. What's expert witness?
The one who will moderate the surveyor's survey.
Yeah, you're an expert, and you may be called into court to give expert witness evidence. So you are deemed, and this is the beauty of it, is that the judge has to, the judge isn't going to be expert in a particular specialism. He or she is going to say, well, this is what the expert says. And we as experts may say, no, unfortunately, that surveyor really missed out on some important things, And then there's a negligence claim against that surveyor. So I can't stress this enough. Just don't be that guy. Just know your stuff, operate within your remit, be very careful with your words. It's like, I'll give you an example. There was a claim recently where a surveyor, he just didn't emphasize enough that something had to be taken care of. So rather than saying, well, it's potentially a problem, maybe you should have said, this definitely appears to be a problem and must be rectified in the immediate term. Did you specify when? Yes, in the immediate term. Okay. What did you specify? Well, that it needs to be remedied by, this cladding. Remember Grenfell? This external wall system is flammable. It must be removed in the immediate term. Okay, fine. You've covered yourself off. Done. Yeah. Likewise, you don't want to go into too much detail because if you, again, remit, you're specifying a bit too much about how something needs to be fixed. And they say, well, you told us to fix it like this, and now you're in trouble. So there's a sweet spot here. And I'm very conscious. This is where I say that's one of my main fortes, is making sure that the building surveyors word things in a very particular way. So anyway, valuations, we don't need to go into too much. You're essentially looking around the area, just seeing how much things go for. We mentioned how sometimes they call the estate agent. You'll use software like Rightmove Plus, that kind of thing. And then you just make your calculations, boom, done. This is how much it should be valued at. Yeah. There is a degree of tolerance, so it doesn't need to be to the exact pound. Let's say I think it's something like 10% difference, maybe, margin of error, And now we have block management, which, who said they want, one of you were interested in block management, was it you? I think, yes. Yeah. Anyone else interested in block management? Okay. So block management, what's block management? Anyone? It's in the name. You're managing blocks, right? Yeah. Lots of tenants, and they all have their problems, yeah, and you have to come in and sort it all out. I don't know how they do it. I've had a taste of it here or there, but it's a lot to keep track of. And from block management, let's say the whole building is in disrepair, it's due for redecoration, you'll know about this, and then you organize the project management. Maybe you act as the contract administrator and project manager, and you say, don't worry, I know a good contractor, bring him in, and you have to send things out to tender first. What does that look like? How do you choose a contractor?
tender to multiple contractors and see which one, I guess you can judge it in various...
Don't say cheapest.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Best value.
Best value. Key phrase, best value. What does that mean, best value?
Fits the criteria.
Yeah. So the price matches the criteria. That's another reason why we just avoided contracting work, because it's so competitive that contractors will do something called suicide bidding. What does that mean?
Is that where they price so low
Yeah.
that they absolutely get it, even though they may not make a decent profit?
So why would they do it then?
So they get more invitations to tender in the future?
No, because you're going to make losses. So how is that sustainable? If you keep underpricing such that you're going to make a loss, yeah, you're not going to. I was in this position, by the way. So you make a loss on that job, and then the next one, and the next one. Guess what? You're on the way to bankruptcy. No business can ever survive unless the revenue at least matches the cost.
Isn't it called prize rigging? I think we kind of briefly touched on.
Oh, that might be, that's something a bit different. But suicide bidding, you're right, but where the contractor makes the money is on...
Variation.
That, you got it. Very good. The variation. What's a variation?
A bit of work that's different, not included in the specification.
Correct. And that is why the schedule of works, your job, if you're, let's say, a quantity surveyor, project management surveyor, you have to bottom out all of those works and make sure you've covered everything that needs to be covered for. Because the contractor will look at that and say, oh, I didn't price for that. I'm going to charge you this and that. And then the surveyor has to say, well, it's a bit too much. And then you have to agree all these extras. That is why a lot of these projects that you hear about, they overrun, they go over budget, because there are so many things that should have been taken into account. So it takes a really competent and experienced project manager to make sure that doesn't happen. And invariably, almost every project it overruns a little bit and goes over budget. Yeah. You heard of the time cost quality triangle? Yep. So if you get that right, then you're a great project manager, essentially. You want the project to be on time. You want it to be meeting the costs, yeah, the budget, and the quality standard, yeah. That's why you see a lot of developers cutting corners, yeah. Why? Because margins are getting squeezed in the industry. Same thing is happening with surveying as well. I've seen a lot of posts by other surveyors saying, this isn't a race to the bottom, you know, pricing lower and lower and lower. Yeah, well, that's what happens in the industry, you know. Somehow we make it work though. So anyway, that's just a rundown of some of the services you could specialize in, and we've already covered off project management here. Snagging reports, what's a snagging report?
New build property.
Yeah, but why is it different from a building survey?
So when you visit a property after the works are done, you can pick up anything which hasn't been done correctly or anything that needs to be rectified.
Yeah, but why wouldn't it be picked up in the building survey? What is snagging? At the end of a...
Can't finish, no, or it needs to be rectified to like complete the work, the item of work.
Yeah, so at the end of the project, and the contractors will tell you, snagging is the hardest part of the job. Why? Because it's all these tiny, you've got a scuff mark here and a little crack here, you've got to replace that now. All these tiny little things, it's a whole list of everything that needs to be rectified, and they're usually tiny things. The building survey is really about the main things. Like Helena said, the building surveyor is like a GP, yeah? But the snagging specialist, it becomes a lot more detailed. That's like your ENT or whatever, right? You know, someone who goes into those little details, all of that stuff. Although snagging, in reality, yes, that can cover an entire project, the whole property. So that's a snagging report, very detailed. Investment and land development. If you're good at that, you'll be a developer's best friend, you know. So if you can source them good land, right, that will get you permitted development from, and yeah, it stacks up favorably from a feasibility study, and they can make a healthy profit on it, yeah, you'll be their best friend. The developers that we're in contact with, they do complain that sites are harder to come by, and when you find them, all the developers have also found them, so they're all bidding against each other, and the margin gets squeezed. And I would say, you know, property development really had its heyday decades ago. It was just so easy to make money on property. Now it's a lot harder. You can still do it, but you have to know your stuff. One of the head honchos of some big developers club, he actually had to send out an email to everyone, because I think he was just being inundated with complaints about how, oh, so-and-so lost money because he did business with this person and that person, right? He had to send an email out to everyone saying, guys, you have to wake up to the reality that developers go bust, okay? And I can't be contending with so much of this. So he actually had to step away from the entire club. So yeah, as a developer, you may be asked to sign that personal guarantee. Yeah, the bank will want you to put your neck on the line for that project. You just have to make sure that you can cover it. So yeah, that's just a bit of information on developing. And then dilapidations, someone else mentioned. Dilapidations, you did, yeah? What's dilapidations?
It's just like at the end of the lease, like as it says, like the landlords to give the property back in.
Correct. Yeah, so they work out what repairs need to be done, they cost it up, and so forth, yeah. Oh God, that's me again.
Property is a minefield, and we need a guide to help us navigate it. That's exactly why this course was developed. There are a number of courses out there based around the theoretical knowledge and basics when it comes to building surveying. Our course is so much more than that. This course will provide you with a practical approach to building surveying, demonstrating exactly how we survey properties at Prinsegate, preparing you for your APC and contributing to your CPD hours. We've tailored our course to suit both junior and senior surveyors looking to improve their efficiency and effectiveness in surveying.
It gives you better confidence when you're actually then working as a surveyor.
I was able to clearly determine the possible risks, not just for me, but for the client as well. And find that this advice could generally save lives.
The aim of this course really is to provide you with the knowledge and learning that I wish was available to me when I started out. We have a huge team of surveyors across the country, all of which follow the exact same training as you're about to receive. Let's get started.
Right. So yeah, going back to the whole aspect of training, I couldn't stand how you get thrown into this industry and they don't give you this whole, well, program of what's what, how to essentially do your job. So don't be surprised if you find that in the industry. When you apply for a job, ask about their training program, what that looks like. If you can have maybe a glimpse of it, it's going to give you such a head start. You're just, if you get the right training from the offset, saves you making on all these mistakes and potentially losing your job, and you're going to say, well, you didn't train me well enough, and your employer's going to say, well, yeah, you didn't, you should have researched it yourself, you know. So ask about that training program when you go to apply. So yeah, we're trying to develop training courses for everything because it just, yeah, it's all part and parcel of making sure the next generation of surveyors are actually adding good value to the industry. We don't want to wake up one day and find out that the reputation of being a chartered surveyor doesn't mean much because standards across the industry have gone down. So this is why we want those training courses to be really good, and we have all of these senior surveyors with their input, trying to cover off as much as possible, make the whole thing comprehensive. So whatever you want to learn, and we only at the moment have training courses on building surveying and party wall, but there'll be others as well. So hopefully in time, whatever you want to learn, you click and you become pretty knowledgeable in no time, and then thereafter an expert. So wherever you apply, or at least with us, you just make your online application, just send us your CV, and then we just have a chat with you. And interviews with us, they're not like the APC interview, right? All we really want to know is that, well, our ethos is, number 1, professionalism, 2, friendly, and 3, loyal. So professionalism, yes, that arguably comes first. You need to be professional. You've got to do your job well. You know, you're good with responding to communication and how you present yourself to clients and your team, etc. You know, you're professional. But that's not enough. If you're not nice to work with, guess what? People are not really going to want to work with you, you know? We want to be helping people, clients who have problems, you know, we're actually making some kind of difference to the community. And it's nice to walk into an office where you have genuine, happy faces, because my first internship wasn't like that. It was actually, quite an intense, not so friendly culture. I think I was only there for like a few months, and I heard a good few arguments just happening publicly, really loud, all sorts of drama, and there's no need for it, you know? So we only really want to work with people who we get along with. You know, you just need to be friendly and professional generally, and if you show loyalty to the company that is also showing loyalty to you, then yeah. So that's the interview, and then we just have screening. So checking your references. You know, do you come from a company that has good things to say about you? Do you pass all your other checks, like your DBS? Have you been well behaved there? Are you also showing a degree of competency? We get it, you're a graduate, you may not know everything about surveying, but we want to know what you do know. And we can very quickly see who has done the homework and who has the potential, and ones that don't so much, they're just thinking, oh, I'll just be a surveyor because I hear it's really good. No, you have to have what I call the surveyor's mind. It's difficult to explain. You just have a knack for it, you know. And it's not just building surveying. Maybe you just have a knack for block management, you know, or project management. But you, as Stephanie was saying, just go for something that is right for you. And the key word, I would say, is passion. If you're not passionate about your work, you will be mediocre. If you're passionate about your work, you will be great. So you have to enjoy what you're doing. Make sense? Yeah. Okay. Let's just go through some, call them schoolboy errors. The CV, please just proofread it. Yeah. I don't think I told my former boss this, but someone, when I was at the renewable energy company, someone had sent their CV in, and it was just so bad. But I knew he was really good, and I said, listen, Sam, I'm going to edit your CV for you. I'll send it back to you, and you send it to management, okay? And he ended up being brilliant. But had that CV gone to management, well, I was management, but director level, they would have said, who is this guy? And then just probably dismissed him from the outset. So, proofread your CV, make sure it's up. Just read your work, please. And we say the same thing to our surveyors. Read what you write. Yeah? Don't just write it and think, yeah, okay, that's it. I guarantee you, whenever you write something and you proofread it, you're going to find at least one mistake. So definitely do that with your CV. And then show us what you've actually done. You know, if you've got your degree, bring us the certificate, portfolio, any projects you've worked on, we'd love to see it. Research. So yeah, that falls back into what I said earlier about doing some further reading, and about our website, what we do. We want to know that you know what we do and what you know about the industry generally, etc. Any news? You're keeping up to date with the news in the property? One of my very good friends, we have this conversation every year. I just feel like I'm not doing much with my life, and he thinks about getting into this industry or that industry, and I said, man, just pick one. And he said, okay, I want to go for property. Okay, what do you know about property? Well, nothing. I said, you know why? Because you don't read. Just read the news. Subscribe to Property Week. There are a few magazines that we read, and you impress the interviewer when you say, oh well, last week the so-and-so built this, and it was for this much money. That's really impressive. That shows us that you know your stuff. And of course, presentation. Just dress professionally. I put that in, matey. It's a pet peeve of mine. Just at the end of the interview, they say, yeah, all right, mate, cheers. We're not on site, and I don't know you that well to be referred to as mate, so just be professional but friendly, but not too familiar. Right, so this is what we offer. As I say, we reward good performance. We don't want some Pareto's law thing coming about where 80% of the work is done by 20% of the people, We want to be rewarding the top performers the most, and that ties in with the annual profit share scheme. We subsidize private healthcare, dental plan, and going back to the friendly thing, number 4, friendly company. Last night we were out, if I remember. I don't drink much. But yeah, we all went. It was just an impromptu thing. I just thought, guys, should we just go and grab some food and drink? Yeah, sure. And then the whole office came over. So it's a nice dynamic. And I try not to speak about work outside of working hours, but everyone wants to talk about work because they enjoy what they're doing. Comes back to passion. Yeah. One girl actually decided she was going to leave before her food arrived because she wanted to make calls, to prospective clients. So I went and brought her a pizza while she was working at the office. She was on the phone. She opened up. So we keep it friendly and professional at the same time. It's totally doable to do that. So it's that. I know it's a bit cliche, work-life balance, but people actually like that. You want to have that friendly culture. Each year we have an awards ceremony. So different types of performance. It can be best building surveyor or best or like a rescue award. Someone usually ends up saving us from something that could have been really bad. Like we go to this house and oh wait, hang on. The senior surveyor has just spotted that there's been some fire damage. Just a little tuft of soot under the soffit where the gutter is. Very easy to miss, but he spotted it. That could have been a real problem because you're basically passing off a property that has fire damage. There could be all sorts of problems hidden. So, we try to award for all sorts of things. Best team player, all of that. And of course, we've got the Christmas party coming up. Hybrid working. It's not always about whether you fit the company, it's about whether the company fits you. So do you want to do a bit of part-time work? Do you want to do a bit of work from home? Who likes always being in the office? Raise your hand. What about sometimes in the office? A bit of work from home? most people are starting to enjoy that after COVID, obviously. They're really liking that balance between being in the office and working from home. So, yeah, little things like we remember people's birthday, friendly environment we've spoken about. If you've been with us for some time, you can eventually become a shareholder as well. So we give share options. And voluntary days, that's, is that extra leave you may want? What is that?
No, that's if you are passionate about
Charity, yeah. Yeah, we do that as well.
You do have a charity that you support, you're able to take up to 20 hours a year to go and do some voluntary work.
Yeah. Questions? Should we start? Should we work around the room, or do you want to raise? Yeah, just raise your hand if you've got a question. Yeah.
So I'm wondering about the specialisations and things like that when it comes to chartered surveyorship. So obviously, with this course, there's very much of a BS QS split. I mean, everyone in this room is BS. I'm wondering, how defined is that when it actually comes to, passing the APC? Because obviously there's specialisms. Can you dip into both of them? How easy as well is it to move, let's say, from one to the other, from QS to BS, BS to QS?
Yeah, very good question. I was actually about to cover that off in the lecture, and then I went off on a tangent. I mean, there's so much to talk about. But yes, I'm glad you brought me back to that. So as I've been saying to some of the students here, well, look at me. I studied property planning development, but I ended up doing quite a lot of building surveying work and then a bit of project management and so forth. So you can adapt your degree to whatever it is that you really want to do, as long as you're competent in that specialism. That's fine. So construction management, if anyone does construction management, well, you know about construction, you should. Building pathology, you can apply that to building surveying. So if you decided well, let's say, if you studied QS, but actually maybe QS may not be your thing. Quantity surveying is, as you probably know, very technical, pricing things up, developing those schedules. If you find out maybe it's not so much your thing, you actually want to be more out and about, checking all sorts of different properties, then you can become a building surveyor. So the RSCS, in answer to the question, RSCS, when you go to do your APC, that's fine, as long as you have your competencies, that's okay. Yeah, it doesn't matter so much what you studied, as long as your degree is RSCS accredited. You choose the relevant route. Okay, so again, in answer to the question, in each route, building surveying route, quantity surveying route, valuation route, there are overlaps in the competencies. So in each one, you'll have mandatory competencies like understanding how to avoid conflict, alternative dispute resolution. You'll need to know that for every route. Once you guys are ready to embark on the SOCRICS and then MRICS, just drop us an email and we can just send you some of the guides that we have if you want. Preferably, if you're part of the team, then we can help you through that a bit better. Or you just go on the RCS website. It's a bit messy. You do have to do quite a bit of research to understand what you actually need to do. What is it like in practice? But essentially, you think, okay, this is the job I'm doing, and my experience is quite relevant to, let's say, building surveying. So I'm going to become chartered as a building surveyor because that's what my experience fits into quite easily. You are going to have deficiencies, though. And that's hard to find other work that can cover that off, like design. It's a common issue with our building surveyors. They want to get accredited in the building surveying route. They need more design work, So, yeah, so that's hopefully a good answer to the question. Any other questions?
This is kind of like two questions.
Yep.
One. So the first also, do you have like part-time kind of trainee positions, if that kind of makes sense?
Yeah. So again, disclaimer, we have limited vacancies. The APC support comes in conjunction with the work that you're doing for the company. You're not going to be training full-time. You're going to be doing a bit of both. Yeah, helping out the senior surveyors, actual work that they need. That's what we get our graduates to do. So yes, we will offer the APC support, and not just by talking to you and sending the odd email, but we'll also subsidize it. So we'll pay for those costs. And in for part-time positions, I think that was the second part of your question. Yeah, it is doable. We just have to work out. Leah's part-time, so because she's still studying. So it's something that can potentially be worked out. But like I said, we have limited vacancies and we need to make sure we have the work for you. Please understand, we have this recession coming up. Are we already in it? Maybe, yeah. And then the Christmas and New Year lull, because as we know, in that period, property is pretty dead, yeah. So, yeah, we'll do our best to accommodate. So in answer to the question, what do I need to get the job? It's really going to be down to what does the company need and what do you need? And if we can marry the two, then you'll be that perfect fit. Just offer what the company is looking for. That's really it. So if the company wants, sometimes they don't know what they want. Sometimes you come along and that's happened to me once or twice. I just think, actually, we may need you. I wasn't actively looking for you, but now that you're here, I want you to be part of our team. So, yeah, it's about selling yourself, and this was touched on by Helena about being able to sell quite well as well. There is that business aspect to it. You have to sell. It's not always just standard selling. It's maybe selling your expertise to the client. They have to be confident in what you're saying. If you pick up the phone to them and they hear you speaking in an unsure manner, well, yeah, I don't know. The client is gonna complain. Our surveyor didn't sound like they knew what they were talking about, and blah blah blah. So that's why I say you've got to get the training in. Read, please read. Not even so much the news, but the actual books on your specialism. Yeah, on the specialism. We need to understand that what you're saying is technically correct. So you can impress the client with some jargon from time to time, but you also want them to understand. So speak in plain English, because they are lay people, a lot of them. Many don't have that much experience in property. They could be first-time buyers, yeah? So you have to give them that confidence that and well-founded confidence that you know your stuff. So that's why I really mean what I say. Do that extra reading on the side. Make time for it, just, I don't know, an hour on the weekend at least, just have a stack of books and just say, right, I'm gonna go through all these books within this period of time, or even half an hour on a Saturday, maybe half an hour on a Sunday. You're telling me you can't make time for that? You make time for Netflix, right? I know I do. I got a whole bunch of books I should be reading, and I haven't really made enough time for it. But that is what's going to set you apart. It's going to give you that head start, and it's going to land you that job that you will be competing with others for. Yeah. So that's essentially what you need to get the job. Which one? This one? The big question everyone wants to know the answer to. How much will I earn? Okay. Right.
Shall we take over there?
No, it's okay. Right. This, I know it's such a cop-out to say competitive salary, but the reason why that often gets said is because we need to know how competent you are. So you could both be graduates, But if one person here seems to really know their stuff and is really driven to get working, that person's going to be paid more than that person, even though they're coming in at the same so-called level. They both graduated at the same time. Yes?
So then typically what's your budget for graduates?
You're getting right to the numbers. Okay, so I will be straight talking, as I always try to be. Typical base salary for a graduate, if they're good, if they can hit the ground running.
If they're in London or outside of London.
Yeah,
Makes a difference
I would
as well.
say, let's say, minimum you'll start off between 25 and 30 plus bonuses and all sorts of other
That's
extras.
if they're already able to do it.
Yeah.
Straight out of uni, you tend to start on 23,
Yeah,
depending on where you live, if you're London or outside of London.
yeah,
Okay, but if you're capable and you've already, like we've taken on a couple of surveyors who recently, who are already surveying, but they're still juniors, they're not a SOC cricks or anything, and I have put them on 25, some on 28, depending on what their capabilities are.
yeah. And of course, if you're producing a lot for the company, you're very efficient, very productive, you're going to be racking up bonuses. There were some surveyors who were earning close to their base wage just in bonuses alone because they were so good. One of them's gone back to studying, unfortunately, and I'm just thinking, do you have any idea how much money you're losing by not carrying on working with it? But hey, in the long term, maybe he will earn a lot more. So, so that's the base graduate level, let's say. Once you become a SOCRIX, you can easily add another 5-10K to that, maybe more. Once you become MRICS, again, probably similar thing, another 5-10K extra. And it's not just about the accreditation. If you're a specialist in a number of things, so you can do your building surveying, your valuation, you're going to command a lot more as well, as high as a six-figure salary. If you become very high level, senior, you're talking like close to 10 years experience then, and you really know your stuff. You're the person that the company can really rely on for a whole bunch of things. Oh yeah, don't worry. What's your name?
James.
James can sort it out. James can sort out whatever. Give it all to him. He'll handle this big claim that we're contending with. Then, yeah, he's going to command that level of salary. Yeah, and then you ascend, you climb that corporate ladder, and before you know it, you're senior management, maybe even director level. So, yeah, I hope that answers the question. It's a big question. Okay, I think that concludes everything.
You had a question?
Oh, you had a question? Yep.
To take another question from what type of work can I do?
Yeah, whatever work you want to do that we can give you. It's kind of like the top left-hand question. So if you ask us, listen, I want to do quantity surveying work right now, I'd say, sorry, we just don't have it. But if you ask us, let's say in a few months' time or half a year, maybe we do have it. So the type of work you can do is anything that you're able to do that we can offer you. So, okay, I think that's it. Yeah? All right, thank you. Cheers.
Thank you.
Right.